He's District Director for the Texas Agricultural Experiment, or Extension Service for Area 1 out of Amarillo. He is a native of Hockley County. For some of you who don't know where that is, that's level land. Out where the land is very rolling and hilly and places like that, okay?
Like plain.
Yeah. He received a degree in animal science from Texas Tech University and a master's from Texas A&M. Served in the Korean, with the Army in the Korean conflict. Has been a county extension agent in Gaines County, Howard County, and Lubbock counties. And has been director here in Amarillo for the Extension Service since 1974. He has the upper 20 counties on your map of the Panhandle, which is basically Randall County and north, and a line drawn across the bottom of Randall County. He's a member of the Extension Service Texas chapter of Alpha Zeta Epsilon Sigma Phi, and he's married and has 4 children and 3 grandchildren. Paul? All right. I'll go get the lights for you.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Appreciate it. Probably just going to echo a little bit here what Dr. Clark has mentioned already about agriculture and the importance of agriculture. We don't think a lot about agriculture until we open the hands on the clock, move up towards about 12 o'clock. Everybody in here got pretty interested in what agriculture means. That's all said, just turn it back on, will be all right. That side's okay, just the very back part, just lift up a little bit, just the back of this all the way to just on the back. But I do have a little bit of experience myself in international marketing. When I was a young assistant county agent, we put in a few hogs. I had started with about 4 sows, and pretty soon I got to about 50 registered sows. And they were good sows because I bought up in the Midwest and tried to produce the best I could. This was down by Seminole, Texas. And so I had a call one day from old Mexico. A fellow called me, said he wanted to come up and see my name in the trade journal, sell some hogs. We're looking for hogs. If you've got about 50 sows, you're doing a good job. You get between 400 and 500 pigs, and half of those are females, and so that's what he was interested in. They were good set. He came up to look at them. When the car arrived there, it was a new car, a nice car, 4 people in that car. A little bit overwhelmed with that, but they got out and looked at those, and it was a good, clean operation. And they walked through there. 2 of those guys were the selection group, and they could ear number these pigs, and they read those numbers on those pigs' ears, and they set those down. And another guy had a chalk marker, he had marked them, and another had his notebook. When he got there, he said, "We'll take these." I said, "All right." And he said, "How quick can you ship them?" And I said, "Just as quick as you pay me." And he said, "Well, this may cause no problem. How do you want it?" I said, "I want cash if I can get it." And he said, "Well, we normally get a check. I just don't believe more part of those houses." I had a little conference with my banker on previous occasions. He was kind of concerned that we get some money on the hogs when we sold them. So anyway, we agreed that he'd send me money. Well, in about 2 weeks, I did tell him, I said, "I'll take good care of these hogs. I'll ship them to you just as a guarantee." And so in about 2 weeks, I got a check to a bank in San Francisco. I carried over to my banker, said, is this piece of paper good? He said, "You betcha." Put it in the bank, we had the hogs on the way. Now, there's a couple of principles there. One is that if he had left those hogs, one of them would have died over there too, they might have been mine. But I guess if I had my money, there's his. So I didn't know a whole lot about international trade, but you know about this. The other thing for you guys from Lubbock, I worked in Lubbock. The first marketing I really saw down there, marketing was in cotton in Lubbock, Texas. And they did a super job out there. They had a lot of cotton, had a lot of the warehouse. We went out there one time. They had all this cotton graded in plastic. They could call into Korea or wherever. They could take this cotton and ship that cotton out of there with so many bales, so many containers of the right grade and everything. That was a real eye-opener for me. I might also mention on the marketing thing there, I had a lot of foreign visitors. Rodney talked about here when I was county agent down there about once a week. We're close to that Chamber of Commerce. I think we've got an excellent Chamber of Commerce down there. These trade groups would come in. We had a fellow came in one time, a huge black fellow. Now, I understand the country that he came from, they paid him by the weight that he had. I don't know, you probably know what country it is. I don't know. But anyway, The bigger you get, the more money you get. He was a huge guy, 400 pounds. So we got a funeral car to haul him around. Stretch them out. Went out to a cotton gin. It wasn't cotton gin season. Right there in the East Lubbock, we used to have a little gin with a sale barn down there. Walked in there and they had a little cotton. They started all this gin up. It's in the spring. Of course, it wasn't even gin cotton. He looked at that thing a little bit and he said, I want to buy a gin just like this. And it caused a lot of commotion. It wasn't a gin for Southern Lubbock. It wasn't one in Dallas. They finally called Phoenix. They got him gin. He bought a gin that day. That fellow bought gin that day. So there's a lot of different things in trade. International trade. Now then, Dr. Clark has told you a little bit about this area here that we're in. I just made this a little bit bigger, got the Panhandle South Plains because of all that cotton production down there. Just echo what he said. This is tremendous agricultural country here. When we look at the state of Texas, we're number one in farms and ranches and cattle, and we're number one in sheep and goats and hogs. And when we look at the United States as a whole, then when we narrow that thing down to this area right here, people, this is where the action is. Anywhere from 25 to 40% of our ag income comes out of this area right here where we're living right here. That gives us some real opportunities, I think, in this area that we maybe are not, haven't thought about some. We look at cattle feed yards here. This is a kind of just a small group. There's one for big cattle feed yards here. We feed an awful lot of cattle in this industry here out here, and it means an awful lot of ag dollars to people. I don't think really realize what's happening in this industry here. Another phase of this is wheat pasture cattle. We run multitudes of cattle here on wheat pasture. We can harvest that wheat, or we can graze it out. We can go for grain. We can go for, depending on the price of wheat over here, the volume history does. I might give a plug here for commodity groups. You know, in this area here, we've got the Texas wheat growers. We've got Southwestern Public Service. They're not a private group, so to speak, as far as commodities, but they're certainly a big agricultural help to us and everyone else here in this area. We've got the Quarter Horse Association. We've got the Texas Cattle Feeders located in Amarillo. We've got the Grain Sorting Producers headquarters right down the road. This is all for Texas. We've got the Sugar Beet Association over here at over here at Moderator anyway, and then we've got the corn growers over here at Denny. So we've got a lot of these big agricultural associations right here in this area that represent agriculture here. This is the important part of our area here, stocker cattle. We bring in many, many stocker cattle to help our wheat profit picture a whole lot right here. This is a field of wheat. It's a little bit hard to say. I'm not going to say much more about it. Robbie talked about that. The picture's not quite as right. Folks, I think here is the crop that brought the cattle feeding industry to the Panhandle of Texas, right here. We have a lot of grain sorghum here. We have a lot of cattle. We truck this for years. We trucked this crop out here to Arizona, California, all over. They fed this crop. We trucked our calves out of here. It's always been a big cattle state here. We trucked those out of here. Now we've decided maybe we'll do something about that several years ago, and that's the very reason out there. That's one of the big reasons I think we have the cattle feeding industry here today. This is not a good human food crop for us. Now some countries like this crop. We're basically in some of the other things here. Corn is certainly an important crop. Probably a lot of corn silage, corn crop goes into the cattle feeding industry here in this area here. Sugar beets. Number one in sugar beet production in this area. Sugar people are a little concerned about the NAFTA agreement right here. What kind of back doors is this going to open up if we get into this thing? There one group's a little concerned. I'll talk about some other groups that are happy to talk about this. Sunflower's a minor crop, but we've got several of these. Texas ranks number one in hay crops in this whole country. If you don't talk about a crop that's important to us, we've got soybeans, we've got sunflowers, we've got guar, we've got a number of these crops that are important to this area here. Some vegetables, mostly over in the Hereford area. When I came up here, we had 15 packing sheds. Labor, restrictions, we got one left, and probably that's not going to last too much longer. That's going to go somewhere else. We pretty well lost that industry here. There's your grain sorghum that's coming in from the field or cutting over here. That's the crop that has helped make this cattle feed industry what it is. Here's the other thing, is a good supply of underground water. Don't ever forget this. I was almost heartsick to talk about digging this pit over here at Dan Smith. Any chance we might have to run this water, folks, don't get drug in on something that can happen to us to run this water supply. We're sitting over a great formation that runs all the way up through Nebraska, and that's the only supply we've got. It is good. We're finding out we may not own this thing because of Edwards Aquifer. What happened? The legislature's got the vote to say, if we need this water, it may be gone. But anyway, right now, agriculture can use that. We've developed a lot of good methods in production of water. This is a low energy. We're using less water. We used to run it down the roads. This is a system of circles. It's all electricity over here getting married. But it's certainly an efficient way to water and to handle crops in this area. You can see on the bottom here, this is a little spray nozzle. It's developed in these low efficiency irrigation things where we can spray chemicals up in there. If you ever see anyone really taking off of agriculture on the chemical usage, they've got an airplane, they're spraying chemical. You can put chemical right through this with the water, goes right down the leaves there, kills the bugs out, an excellent way to do it. Let's talk a little bit about area beef pasture deer plants. In 1992, I got this again, Southwestern Public Service data. They go out and survey these people. But we slaughtered nearly 5 million head of cattle here in 1992. 12 plants here with total capacity of something 5.25 million head of kill capacity here. Now then, let's look at some of these area largest plants here. We got Iowa beef processors, Amarillo. They knocked down about 1.75 million, 750,000 head. We got Montford up at Eder, a little over a million head there. We got Exo with a couple of plants, one out here at Plainview, one over here in Palmer County. That gives you some idea of the magnitude of what's happening in the cattle industry here, what happened. This again, we look at the feed yards where these are coming out of, 2, almost 3 million head of total capacity, but we turn those over. You only feed these cattle for about 120 days or so the road. Some years it's 2.5, depending on what you're going to get out of those cattle. Some of them are a little slower about filling, some a little faster. Normally we'll go up from 2.5 to or roughly 3 times a year to turn those cattle to get us up close to that packing capacity to drop across that unit. Let's stop just a minute and look at what this is from the U.S. Meat Export Federation here. And right now on beef exports, this is their projections right here. Right now, we're sitting right here on about $3 billion worth of exports in beef. Now you can look and see what they're talking about here in the year 2000. You think there's not some opportunities going to happen if we're on the boat? We can ride the boat with the folks and make a little something out of this right here. But it's almost a gradual increase from about, it just steps up here to about doubling for the year 2000. That's not very far. Now let's talk just a bit about the pork business. I told you I was kind of a pork man to start with, and we won't get by that. If we look down in Old Mexico, there's some real opportunities in Old Mexico. This is what happened in 1992. About $13 million worth of live hogs, live swine for breeding purposes, 76 or 77 million pork, and variety meats. So they use a lot of these things we're not going to use down here, and they do it real efficiently in what they do. Large is what you got there. So when you look at that, that's a pretty good package. This will if we can get NAFTA. Now, here's a group right here, the pork boys. They're strong behind NAFTA. They want to trade with Mexico. We've got an import deal down there right now. When we ship anything at 20% on Mexico, if we can get that thing keyed down, it's going to make them more dollars. Some of them are saying that if we can get this NAFTA trade agreement through the pork industry, that hogs will be $1 a pound here by the end of the 10-year period. And beef cattle, have always been brought more than hogs. You ever wonder about the developing countries, what's the first meat they eat? They eat chicken. Why? Because I go down to the grocery store and buy chicken for 79 cents a pound. Costs a pound and a half, pound and 3/4 feed, get that on that chicken. Double that price, double your feed, you got your hog business. Double that, which price, you go down here and buy your beef for $3.50, $4 a pound. 7 or 8 pounds of feed, get a pound of beef. So beef is going to be the last thing that underdeveloped people can use. They're going to use chicken, pork, beef, simple meat economics. It's just cheaper to buy the meat. Did you ever wonder why a lot of those underdeveloped countries, they use rice? And what do you find in there? You don't go see a big beef steak. You see a little bit of duck cut up in there, a little bit of chicken, a little bit of pork. They just cut it up in there. Meat is scarce and hard to come by. But as these countries get more profitable, what are they going to buy? They're going to buy better cuts of pork, better cuts of beef, and if the market's out there. Okay, let's look at our assets just a minute right here. High quality and plentiful supply of raw materials and food products that we can ship out here. Folks, there's nobody in the world got the products that we've got shipped in the way of food products here. I don't care who it is. I go out here, I don't care what 60 Minutes says or anybody else. You can go out here to IBP and I'm impressed with the quality of the meat that comes out of there. Sometimes there'll be some little something slip, but when you look at all the millions of pounds of meat and carcasses that go out of there, we have a real good track record on this thing. Available finance. A lot of these countries don't have finance, and we've heard this all the time. You better be careful how you finance. We have that finance. If you have a good, solid industry to promote, somebody will loan you the money or help you get in that business. Technology. There's nobody in the world got the technology we've got in this country. I remember back when I was candidates in Lubbock, Texas, 1970s, when they launched this satellite up here, about 17,000 miles, and went around this earth up here, one day a month, agriculture got the use of that satellite. Dr. Marion Bumgarner grew up here in Wellington, Texas, up at Purdue. Purdue got the contract on that thing. He came off down there at Lubbock, and we took producers over about a 10-county area, and every day about 10 producers, and they went out on those farms, and that thing came over one day a month, and they told him what was on the ground. If it was cotton, if it was skip row, if it had been irrigated, if it was blooming, if it had worms in it, if it was feed crop, if it was corn, if it was vegetables, if it had been irrigated, if it rained the day before, what stage of growth it's in, if it's blooming. He got all of that data put in his computer. We were circling the earth with this satellite. We knew what was down there. We could see what was down there, but we could not tell what it was. After we got through with that exercise there, he could tell, but he went over. We know exactly what is happening in Russia. We know what's happening in China. We can figure out. When we had the bad corn blight years ago up in Indiana, planted all of one type of corn up there, a blight hit it, and before that blight ever hit that country, we could pick it up off the infrared units off of that, but there was something wrong with that corn crop. We couldn't tell what it was till it happened, and it happened. It was a disaster. But we've got technology that you wouldn't believe that we've got in this country, and we can do things with. We're utilizing that technology to see what's happening. High education level along the food production chain, and the key word here is food production chain. On the trading end of that, we got sharp people trading. Mexico, China, Korea, everywhere we trade, those people are sharp that match our people trading. But folks, when you get out of that and come down here, when I spent my time in Korea, I was an old country kid over there, and I wasn't over there looking farming, but I did see a lot of it. And there was an old boy over there. I'd go to those rice paddies, and he had an old Georgia stock plow, and they'd drag that old plow with an old water buffalo or something out across there. And he was plowing in water. I couldn't figure out how in the world he let it roll across that. But I guess he knew what he was doing. I came back later on, and this poor devil had his pants legs rolled up, and he was setting that rice out in there. I came back a little while later. The rice was growing. They harvested that rice by hand with reapers. They brought it in. They used these buffalo to tromp that up. They winded that grain. Now that's a far cry from some of this big machinery we got right here. As far as what we get into, as far as level, educational levels and things like that, in our work, we develop a plan that we look at through our county agent program. I was over at Collinsworth County 2 or 3 years ago. They had 9 farmers in there that were working on a plan. Looking at what was happening in that county, what they're going to do, what they want, what kind of educational programs they want in that county. 7 of that 9 had college degrees. 5 of those had master's degrees, sitting right there working on the plan. You'll not find that anywhere else except right here in the United States of America. We've got good equipment, roads, and transportation system. I've been over Mexico several times. One of the things I noticed most, you look down one of those mountains, looks like it's a mile at the bottom. They're hauling bananas out of there on a little small donkey, a couple of packs on that little thing. He's struggling to get up that thing. It takes them I don't know how long to get. They lay it at the side of the road. They pick it up. They don't have nearly the roads and equipment we've got. The other thing is, with this NAFTA thing being developed, we've got a lot of opportunities. Kansas, Nebraska, they're talking about roadways right now. We're not very interested. I hope Amarillo will look at that. I'd like to see I-27 be a roadway for some of this stuff that's going into Mexico if this happens. And regardless of where the NAFTA comes in, we're going to trade with Mexico. You can bet on that. We're going to trade. NAFTA is another vehicle if we use it right and don't mess up. Don't let them mess us up. It's kind of like we get down somewhere we can park this road. It's kind of like old Yogi Bear. I like old Yogi. Had a lot of good things. But Yogi said if you come to a fork in the road, take it. And that's what we need. Get to a fork in the road, take it. Now let's look at their assets. Cheap labor and plenty of it. I worked some of those Koreans over there, good workers. I've worked some people out of old Mexico on my farm. If they came across a yellow, they called them wetbacks. They were good hands. If they came across with a green card, they were called green cards, they were called ceros, a number of different things. I've seen 100 of them in a row picking cotton, brought up here with some gin to pick cotton, hand cotton, had them on my farm doing that. They're good workers. They don't have the technical ability to know what to do, but they've got a lot of labor. We better remember this concerns some people here on what they have. The other thing here, favorable climate for fruits and vegetables. We've got a good climate here for what we do. We need some cold weather, but down there when it's cold and icy here, they can be producing some crops down there in that country. We can't produce it. See some of the pretty strawberries out there. People's got concerns. Are they going to have the same regulations we've got? And we need to have a level playing field on that. Less regulations, less government control. Agriculture's getting choked to death with regulations. Every time we turn around, we've got a new regulation. They may choke us plumb out of this thing. That's the biggest fear I have about agriculture today, is how much regulation can we take? We're the best stewards of the land. We want to have a cleaner product than anybody. But we seem like everybody else. You can take some movie star out here that has no idea about what it is, and they can get up and expound on all the bad things wrong with agriculture, and everybody says that's the way it is. I can spend my whole career trying to tell somebody, nobody believes in what I'm telling them. But I'm telling you, that's the way it is. That's about what I have. I'm gonna quit there. I've enjoyed visiting with you. I appreciate the opportunity to come and visit with you. Thank you.